Hello, my name is Chester Pogonowski. I'm a supervisor in Wrightstown Township and also serve as chair of the Newtown Area Joint Zoning Council. The council is made up of supervisors from all three jointure communities, as well as the chairs of each of our planning commissions. We meet monthly to discuss zoning and planning issues which are important to the townships. Eventually, these discussions can make its way to formal changes in our zoning ordinance. It's hard to believe that an experiment that started 46 years ago as an idea to plan and preserve the character of the three townships and Newtown Borough has persevered formally for the past 39 years with the adoption of a joint zoning ordinance. The Newtown Jointure, as it is frequently referred, is the first and true joint planning and zoning group within the Commonwealth. And while Newtown Borough eventually left the jointure, I'm proud that the three townships have been able to work together to preserve what we all moved here to enjoy. As part of this planning process, the jointure targets a review of the planning principles which drive preservation and development in the jointure. We are in our fourth comprehensive plan review cycle. In 2006, the jointure started a review of the plan. It was readopted by the townships in 2009. In 2019, the jointure again discussed the process to review our existing comprehensive plan and make changes as needed. In the past 2.5 years, we have worked to move this plan forward, which sometimes slowed because of the pandemic and difficulties just getting together. Today, we are ready to transfer this review from the Joint Zoning Council to the planning commissions, your municipal consultants, other township commissions, and the boards of supervisors. It will be the responsibility of each municipality to review the draft plan and make recommendations important to your municipality. We expect that this review process will take us into 2023. Changes to the plan may be needed after your reviews and approved by your board of supervisors. Eventually, a formal presentation will be made to the public prior to enactment of the plan in each of the townships. The comprehensive plan is a formal planning document mandated by the Municipal Planning Code. In developing the plan, we are narrowly focused on issues related to land development and zoning. The comprehensive plan is not designed to address all aspects of township governance. During the information gatherings phase, we had excellent input from various boards and commissions in each of the townships. As an example, the Environmental Advisory Commissions provided a list of excellent ideas and objectives for considerations. However, only those ideas which impacted land use were considered for inclusion. As you review the plan, please ask the question as to what the impact a goal or action would have on our zoning ordinance, the subdivision and land development ordinance, or our stormwater ordinances. If an idea does not fit into one of these land use categories, townships are encouraged to use other processes within the municipalities to address these non-land use goals. Our planning, the Bucks County Planning Commission consultants, Lisa Wolf and Jeremy Stauff, have done an excellent job leading the comprehensive plan review and developing draft documents you are about to review. In the next presentation, Lisa and Jeremy will provide a review of the plan from a 1,000-feet perspective. We hope that this will answer some of your basic questions. As your reviews move forward, I'm sure you'll have additional questions. These can be shared with the chairs of the planning commissions or board of supervisors and then back to the zoning council. Additionally, Lisa and Jeremy can attend local meetings to answer questions either in person or virtually. In preparing the plan, care was taken not to mandate a change in land use in any township. Ultimately, your township needs to define if new residential or commercial development is appropriate in your township. The good news is the Bucks County Planning Commission has determined that based on the 2020 census and population projections for the next 10 years, there is enough undeveloped land to provide for that growth without the need to rezone land to provide for higher densities. This is a tremendous relief for those of us who approach these reviews wondering if new housing opportunities will be needed, which ultimately will have an impact on our communities. The Joint Zoning Council looks forward to your review and comments on the plan. We thank you for your attention. And now Lisa and Jeremy.
Thank you, Chester. As Chester just explained, Jeremy and I will give a brief overview of municipal comprehensive planning and talk in general terms about the update to the Newtown Area Joint Comprehensive Plan. Next, I will provide some background information on why the jointure updated the plan, the process that was followed, and what the next steps are. Jeremy will provide an overview of the plan by highlighting the plan's guiding principles, noting additions and changes from the 2009 plan, and mentioning some of the higher-level conclusions from the development areas analysis and recent land use trends. So for the background and explanation of the process, next slide. What does the comprehensive plan say or do? Basically, a comprehensive plan is a document that describes a shared vision for the future of a community. Basically, it is the vehicle that enables community members to look ahead and plan for the type of community they want to live in. Through assessment of various issues, strategies and recommendations for how to achieve the community's vision are woven into the plan. In essence, the comprehensive plan provides a policy guide for officials making land use decisions. Next. So why is it necessary to update the plan? The current update was undertaken for several reasons. First, the jointure had reached the 10-year time frame envisioned in the 2009 plan. The Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, which is a state enabling legislation, requires that municipal comprehensive plans be reviewed at least every 10 years. With that mandate, jointure representatives began discussions on updating the plans a few years ago. Other reasons for updating the plan have to do with documenting and analyzing changes that have occurred in the jointure since 2009. These include studies and activities that each of the Newtown area townships have undertaken, as well as accounting for land use changes resulting from additional growth that has occurred in the Newtown area and successful land preservation efforts by each township. Next. The current comprehensive plan is organized into two separate parts. The first part of the document includes a discussion of the guiding principles for the Newtown area as related to land use. This part of the plan is basically a blueprint for the future. The second part of the document, located in the plan appendices, includes background analyses that give a current snapshot of the jointure with updated information on demographics, existing land use, natural resource protection, historic resources, village planning, parks and open space, transportation, residential development analysis, and a non-residential development inventory. The jointure's existing 2009 plan has served the townships well. Therefore, at the outset, the Joint Zoning Council set out to prepare an update, not a total rewrite of the plan. Next. Oh, okay. The process for this update involved meeting monthly with the Joint Zoning Council at Council's public meetings. At those meetings, the Joint Zoning Council reviewed policies and recommendations within each principal element of the plan. Meetings were held in person, through Zoom, and most recently through a hybrid format of in-person meetings with the ability for representatives as well as members of the public to join virtually. The meeting discussions allowed jointure representatives the opportunity to assess each issue and reach consensus on plan recommendations, as well as the actions needed to implement those recommendations. From the outset of this project, council members placed a strong emphasis on engaging the public and receiving community input. In addition to relying on various township boards and committees for input, a resident survey was also created to gauge what issues are most important to community members. The survey, conducted online, was hosted on each of the 3 jointure township websites. Resident responses helped to frame land use priorities and provide direction and guidance for municipal officials as they plan for the future. As you review the draft, you'll find the survey results and highlighted conclusions of such in the Maps and Appendices section of the document. So getting more to the plan and elements in the plan, the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code sets out the required elements of a municipal and multi-municipal comprehensive plan. The required plan elements include goals and objectives, plans for land use, housing needs, transportation, natural and historic resources, community facilities, how the different plan components interrelate, and implementation strategies. The draft before you for review contains all of these required elements. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeremy, who will provide a general overview of the plan.
All right, so as Lisa mentioned, I'm going to begin by giving a kind of a high-level overview of the plan itself. So this plan is a result of several years of discussion about the future of the townships, and the challenges faced by these communities, as we found, are difficult. So the chief purpose of the plan begins by investigating some of these questions: how to manage future growth and development, how to continue to preserve our important farmlands, natural areas, and open spaces, how to control traffic and ensure safe travel, how to protect and sustain safe neighborhoods, convenient shopping, and good community facilities, how to promote resiliency related to the impacts stemming from climate change, how to live sustainably in a period of energy uncertainty, and finally, how to protect the special history of our area. So this plan contains 9 principles that will be used to guide actions and decisions of the townships within the jointure so that community changes can protect the natural environment, respect existing neighborhoods, protect the agricultural economy, reflect the goals of the residents, and establish living and working environments that provide services and facilities needed for healthy neighborhoods. So the principles were developed by reviewing the results of the resident questionnaire that Lisa mentioned, examining current conditions and trends on the ground, learning from the experiences of other communities, and setting objectives for what our community should be in the future. So the first of the guiding principles is to promote smart growth. And this deals with guiding new growth into development areas and guiding that growth in the form of good places to live that are respectful of neighbors and to the community and that adhere to the principles of the jointure. So this deals with accommodating and anticipated growth within these defined development areas in all 3 jointure townships to meet the area's obligations to provide for new residents in a variety of housing choices. The second of the guiding principles is to promote sustainable development and protect natural resources. So development will be accommodated in a way that protects the land, area, and water for present and future generations. So this principle involves policies to protect the landscape, vegetation, natural topography, farmland resources, wetlands, floodplains, all of which have been part of the jointure and its standards for decades and will be continued. So updates to these policies to address flooding problems, site disturbance, water quality degradation, loss of tree cover, and energy conservation are all recommended as a part of this principle. And the jointure also recognizes the threat to the future of our community and our families posed by climate change. And you'll find a discussion of that within this principal chapter as well. And we stress that future decisions should be made with a clear view toward mitigating greenhouse gas emissions, promoting resiliency or resilience to extreme weather events, and taking all other measures needed to grow as a sustainable community. So the third principle is to provide for mobility and connections. So this deals with fostering a safe, efficient, and comprehensive transportation system of roads, rails, buses, transit, trails, bikeways, and sidewalks where appropriate, that provides a variety of options for traveling in and through the Newtown area. So the fourth principle is to preserve open space and protect agriculture. So this principle deals with farming and related uses as they remain important parts of the landscape of the jointure. But the pressure from development threatens to fragment these resources and counters the efforts to preserve them. So agriculture and horticultural practices continue to expand, as some of these activities, such as pick your own produce and farmers markets, grow, we want to help support the area's farming community and provide local food sources to help them thrive. So this principle and the plan at large supports and recognizes the continuation of farming within the jointure, and it supports meaningful open space as a part of the development process and through conservation easements. So the fifth principle is to build and maintain livable communities. So this principle deals with establishing adequate community services and facilities such as police protection and schools, and area for community institutions, recognizing that they're important community assets. Community services and facilities are often what attract new residents to places like the jointure. And the residents responding to the community questionnaire similarly said that the school system and the facilities that are available to families were important factors in deciding to live in the jointure. Some of these community facilities and services are provided by the municipalities themselves, while others are provided by private contractors, nonprofit organizations, or by other levels of government. So the sixth principle is to provide parks and recreation. So this principle deals with fostering the development of active and passive recreation and promoting the physical and mental well-being of residents of all ages. So parks, recreation facilities, and open space are important improvements and are vital aspects of sound communities, and that idea is reflected in this plan. So the seventh principle is to sustain and support our commercial and job space. So this principle deals with maintaining the area's convenient and attractive commercial areas for the purchase of necessary goods and services, but also remaining mindful of over-commercialization of the area. So it also deals with maintaining and enhancing the area's economic vitality, businesses and industries that provide jobs, convenient shopping and services, and a quality community life for residents. So we're cognizant here that good land use planning can and should direct non-residential development to areas where it makes sense. So principle number 8 is to protect historic resources. So this principle deals with ensuring that preservation of the area's historic resources are protected by regulating future growth to recognize, protect, and incorporate landscapes, buildings, and other structures of historic value to the community. And finally, principle number 9 is to preserve our villages. And this principle deals with protecting the scale and the character of the villages through land use and design controls so that the historic and cultural heritage of the villages is maintained. So those are the 9 principles. At this time, I'm going to walk through a little bit about some of the higher level takeaways and observed trends that you'll find in the plan. So the first comes out of the residential development areas analysis. So the goal of this analysis was to determine whether the jointure had enough land suitable for new housing to accommodate the anticipated population growth. So this is a key part of any planning process, and it's an important analysis to undertake as a part of the comprehensive plan. So the good news is that the land that was suitable for new residential development did meet the needs of the community based on the projected population growth. So the jointure is in good shape in that regard. So secondly, I just wanted to raise, we did add a new subsection around hazard mitigation, and essentially we added a discussion that points toward the countywide process for hazard mitigation planning, and provided recommendations stressing the importance of municipal cooperation with these countywide planning efforts. We also added a discussion on some of the impacts or lessons learned, or that we're still learning, coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, specifically around how to manage or how to attempt to manage disruptions to businesses and government operations. Again, stressing the importance of coordinating with county, state, and federal partners. So we also added some discussion around trends in non-residential land use, along with some recommendations on how to plan for these emerging issues. And not for nothing, some of these trends also have tie-ins to, again, COVID-19 and the pandemic-related shifts that we've observed. So the first of these trends is adaptive reuse and infill development. So communities, it's becoming increasingly important for them to look for new and innovative ways to adopt land use policy to capture new economic trends and provide flexibility in adapting to land use planning in this regard. So this can be done by permitting a mix of complementary uses such as healthcare, recreational, and multifamily residential uses in what were traditional retail and office-oriented zoning districts. So this can be done by carefully crafting design requirements and ensuring, which hopefully will ensure good development outcomes. The second of these trends deals with commercial and office space. So as you're no doubt aware, vacancies remain high in both retail, commercial, and office space. So after a huge amount of office space was developed between the 80s and 90s and into the early 2000s, we really haven't seen a significant amount of office development since. And that's not just unique to the jointure, but really at Bucks County at large. And historically, many communities probably overzoned for some of this office space because this type of development can pay for itself in terms of tax revenues over the cost of providing services. But by many evaluations, the U.S. has become vastly over-retailed. And so developing strategies for adapting new land use policy to this changing landscape for both commercial and office space will be of critical importance in the coming years. And finally, a discussion around warehouse space was added to the plan. So growth in e-commerce has accelerated the demand for warehouse space across the U.S. And while we haven't seen a ton within the jointure itself in terms of a rise in warehouse space development, many of its neighbors in surrounding municipalities have. And as a whole, Bucks County is seeing a record year in proposed square footage for industrial space as some of these retailers look to bring inventory closer to their consumer base. So notwithstanding the fact that we haven't seen a ton of this development within the jointure itself, we do want to remain mindful of this trend, as some of the implications could certainly be felt within the jointure in areas related to traffic concerns, environmental considerations, and an increased demand overall for these services. So that wraps it up for my overview of the plan itself. I am going to now turn it back to Lisa, who will bring us home by walking through the plan adoption process and talk about some next steps.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, so the next slide. So where do we go next? At this point in the process, after months of discussion, the Newtown Area Joint Zoning Council members have reviewed the draft and recommend that it be forwarded onto the townships for for review by the municipal planning commissions, supervisors, and other township commissions. As township officials review the draft, please keep in mind what Chester mentioned at the beginning of this video, that this document is a policy document with stated principles that are intended to guide the actions and decisions of the Newtown area townships as related to land use. Once the boards and commissions in each township have reviewed the draft, any recommendations or suggested changes should be coordinated at the township level and relayed back to the Joint Zoning Council for consideration. As the entity charged with updating the document, the Joint Zoning Council will revise the draft with the agreed upon changes, and a revised draft will then be sent back to each of the 3 townships. Once there is general agreement on the draft document will be advertised for adoption at public hearings scheduled in each of the 3 townships. Per requirements of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, the final draft for consideration also needs to be sent to the County Planning Commission. Even though we did assist the jointure with the update, it's still a requirement that an official county review be conducted. The draft plan also needs to be sent to contiguous municipalities, as well as the Council Rock School District for review and comment. Finally, once all the comments are back, the townships are ready to really consider the plan at the public hearings. All 3 townships must adopt the proposed update to the comprehensive plan for it to become an official plan. So the flow chart before you sort of just outlines each step that I mentioned. As you can see with the coloration, we are pretty much at the top middle step right now. Next. So with that wraps up our overview. At this point, the Newtown Area Joint Zoning Council is handing the draft document off for your review. On behalf of the Joint Zoning Council, as well as Jeremy and myself, we appreciate your time and dedication to reviewing the draft document. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact Jeremy or I at the Bucks County Planning Commission, or the Joint Zoning Council meets the first Thursday of every month. So they're always open public meetings. We welcome your input. Thank you.